What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. So pretty much today spending another day with the great Scion Frs and the automatic 1JZ swap, and today we're taking over the fuel system. So as you guys know, the FA20, the Subaru BRZ, and the Scion Frs was designed with a returnless fuel system. 1JZ, 2JZ has a fuel return system, so we had to just make that conversion returnless to return. So obviously there's no fuel return lines on the car, so we have to create all that. So the two fuel lines that we were using are these two. One has like a blue dot in it, right, and then the other one is marked up with a green dot, and obviously you cannot miss them because these two actually have a fuel clamp on it, because of the pressure of the fuel. And we have a third line here with a white dot, and this one have just a very simple pressure clamp over here. We could delete this, so I'm just guessing this is just for the emission stuff. So to start, I wanted to show you guys this. This is actually a Toyota Supra OEM fuel filter. This is the inlet, this will be the outlet, which is fuel will come from here, right, pass through the filter, and this side is gonna go inside our block, which is the 1JZ, and then from the back of the head, right, the fuel rail, and then out to the fuel pressure regulator, and then it's gonna go back to one of these lines, which is the return. All right, so for this build, I don't think I'll be running E85, so I would keep the lines a lot easier, a lot simpler than the white car. So before we start cutting, trimming, and modifying our fuel lines, I just want to make sure the fuel tank is empty, because I don't want to lit this on fire. So how are we gonna do that? We're gonna do this by actually hard wiring the fuel pump. Right, so here's the plug. So the green one is positive and the gray one is negative. So basically we're gonna hardwire the fuel pump so they're gonna be on at all time, and then hopefully that would draw all the fuel out of the fuel. One thing that I wanted to show you guys is what I did over the weekend is I took out the driver's side and the passenger seat and I cleaned everything. Look at that. It looks so clean, both sides. And the most important is it doesn't smell anymore. So clean everywhere. Just a little update here on the battery relocation as well. Look at that. This thing looks so clean. And we got the ground to the battery, we got the positive into the battery, and we have our breaker. This actually could work as a kill switch, right? You walked away, you flip it, that's it. Got my fuel jar here all set up. We're testing all three lines. Just want to make sure which one is the flow and which one's not. So before we start pumping, I just want to make sure that we have power and stuff. There you go, this is power. Do we have power? Not yet. So this is power, maybe? Nope. The hell? So everything is set up here. We have our ground, we have our positive. Oh, there you go. I think I felt it. Yep, we have power now. Let's turn on the keys. Oh yeah, the fuel tank is full. So let's see. I want to actually use only one wire here because I think the other one will be the ground, so we only need power. Oh, the fuel is coming out. They're actually pretty high pressure though. You got one, we got two. So will be the two that I mentioned. Alright, so we can go ahead and unplug this. Boom. Pump is off. There you go. Let's see our gauge. Resetting the gauge. The hell? Well, we still fall. If I put this back, I don't know. Maybe just the sensor or something. You know, it's okay. Maybe the level or something. But I know that there is very little gas in there, so maybe it's the other side. Alright, so we're good over here. Let's close this up before we set this thing on fire. I'm gonna put this on the truck now. So pretty much all the fuel is out, I believe so, because you know the pump wasn't pumping anymore. Anyway, so just a little update here of what I did. So I used a quick connector to use this wire, you know, just to high wire the pump, right? I didn't use the ground because we already have ground to the chassis, you know, from the stock harness. I just took this wire and I wired this up into the battery, and then one side I have the keys on, you know, because contact with ground, the pump was running. So all the fuse is out. I wanted to see if I can just open this up and also cut these lines up, because I kind of want to use this quick disconnect fitting though. Now you guys might ask why you have to cut this fuel line, because this one actually, it goes to the side of the fuel tank and there's a splitter. It's like a Y or it's like a T, you know, that sends fuse from this main pipe and it splits out into these two hard lines. That's why we had to cut it and modify it, you know. And I'm going to use one for the return and I'm going to use the other one for the flow. So one thing that I'm trying to figure out now, I'm going to actually test it out. I'm going to get like a few pressure regulator and I'm going to connect all the lines. I want to see what's the amount of pressure that I would get, you know, using the stock Venturi system, you know, but with a stronger pump. I want to see how's that going to work, and then I guess we could just go from there. So pretty much if I be able to retain, you know, the stock fuel pump design and the Venturi system, you know, that'd be a great benefit, because that's going to actually save me a lot of time and also work. And then from there we should be able to add a return line into the fuel tank, and that should be it. All right, so what I did up here on the fuel pump assembly is I actually modify this fitting. This is a stock fitting that was actually attached into this line, and I replace it, you know, with a rubber hose. These are actually higher viscosity fuel lines. These are Gte R9. I ran these hoses on the 240 on the draft car for about 2-3 years, and they never gave me a problem. So this is a quick release, so we just plug it back in like so. Boom, and that's it. To take them out, you just press this 2 white one and it just come right out. I gotta do it both hands, I believe, so it's kind of hard. Yep, there you go. Now it's off as well. This is a very convenient fittings. I like it because it's, you know, simple. So from here I'm gonna run this line right to the side of the tank underneath the car, and I'm gonna connect it to one of the hard lines. One. All right, so we have taken out this cover that actually was protecting the fuel lines, and also we have brake lights in here as well, so be careful. We don't have to touch anything right here. This is the E cable. Now this is the tricky part here, because we need to actually get access to actually this will just come right up. You know, these are also quick disconnect fittings, right? We just gotta make sure that this get plumbed back into the right lines that we're actually gonna utilize as a float line or return lines. All right, so I just pulled out this fill line that was actually attached to the main pipe, which is this one. This actually sit like this, right? And then there's a quick disconnect that go from here to this one, which is this one over here that I already cut. And here's the T, right, or the splitter or the Y that you guys want to call it. So go from the main pipe and the fuel gets split up, right? And then goes to the hot lines on the bottom. I'm actually gonna modify this, right? Add a fuel clamp like I did over here. I make sure that everything is good, and then put it back, and we should have a flow line and a return line. All right, so what's happening in here is I cut it open and I took the fitting out of the line, right? And we're gonna use this hose, and we already did actually this one. We're gonna put it in here. We're actually gonna use a fuel clamp first, fuel line clamp, right? And then we're gonna push this back in here like so. All the way. And we can use our fuel line clamps, right? And lock it up, and that should be it. No matter of fact, I'm gonna clock it first, make sure that everything is good, right? And then we're gonna lock this up. Now, one other thing that I highly recommend: do not use regular water hose clamps. Now, the difference between the water hose clamps and the fuel line clamps is, you see these wedge on the fuel line clamps? These are finished, right? Have like a little wedge on it, and that actually prevent the clamp cutting out your fuel lines. Now, the water hose clamps, the edges are not finished, they're pretty sharp. As soon as you tighten it up with the water hose clamp, there's a possibility for you to crack the hose open, and then you could have a fuel leak. So I pretty much learned this over the year. Having the correct fuel clamp and your fuel system was one of the main concerns on the drift event, because a lot of people were running water hose clamps on their fuel system, and they always ended up with a crack or with a leak, and it just, you know, creating a fire on the track. So, you know, that's about it. You know, make sure that you use your, you know, correct clamp. I'm not planning to drift this car at all, because this is going to be an automatic daily driver car. But it's always, you know, good to do the correct thing, you know, especially on your fuel system. You know, you just for safety, you don't want to really cut your lines open and create like a leak or something, and you'll probably ended up like, you know, catching your car on fire. So, all right, so I got the fuel plumbing done over here. This is pretty much is gonna be our feed from the pump, right? And this is gonna be our dump back into the tank, right, from the return. All right, let's check out the bottom. I already put everything in the bottom. So, all right, so here's the fuel lines on the bottom of the car. This is the fitting that we were reusing. This is the other one. Everything is nice and tight over here. This thing ain't coming out. Now I marked up this one over here because this is gonna be our feed line, which is this line over here, the outer line. So I know now this is the one that we connect to the filter on the front, and from there to our block. This one over here, which is 1, 2, 3, this one is gonna be the dump back, you know, to the tank as a return. And here's the front of the car. So the lines that we are gonna be actually modifying is actually this one, which is the outer one that I choose to run as the prime line, right, the feet. And number 3, which is this one over here, right, with the blue mark. This is gonna be the return and the dump back into the fuel tank. So there you have it. So we have completely modified our fuel lines. So this one is going to be our flow line that's coming out from the pump, comes all the way over here boom, get into the filter. From the filter, it's gonna go all the way to the block, right? The back of the block, which is the inlet, right? And then from there, it's gonna come out, go into the fuel pressure regulator, and this one will be our return line. I also ended up reusing all the stock brackets, right, that came with the car. And this one I kind of tucked it in behind the brake lines. I mean, it wasn't necessary. And also I'm planning to take these out again just to add like a protective heat thermal sleeve on it, you know. You never know, just for extra safety. So that's pretty much it. We got the fuel lines going. All right, let me just plug this back in. I think it fits this way. Doesn't matter, it fits both way. Make sure that there's no kink or anything on the fuel lines, and then you're good. What the hell? All right, so you want to feel like this, fine. So sit like this then. Let's go this way. Boom, and then we have our prime return. So one thing that I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna actually plumb the fuel pressure regulator, replace the pump. You know, I'll be upgrading the pump from a 250 to a 340. I think that should be plenty enough for stock JZ. What else? Plumb everything, you know, the return, you know, double check on all the fittings, you know, and then just prime it and just make sure that there won't be any crazy leak.